Hey, welcome back to this series on Unreal Engine for absolute beginners, and in this video we're going to talk about setting up Unreal Engine from scratch if you've never done it before.
Hey, welcome to Real-Time Workflows. I'm MX Bell. I worked on Deadpool and Wolverine, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, 1917, Hobbs and Shaw, Wheel of Time, Little Mermaid, No Time to Die, tons more. What you're going to get in the channel are my pro tips and how I use Unreal Engine to make films. So let's get started. Let's make some stuff. See you down the road.
Hey, welcome back to Real-Time Workflows with me, MX Bell. We're going to carry on our absolute beginners course and take you through. We just did the absolute basics of 3D graphics, and now we're going to take you into how to install Unreal Engine. I will say, if for those of you that are coming from film, I know that I work in film, and I know that most of the people in film are using Macs. Unfortunately, Macs won't really run Unreal Engine. Now, Mac Pro would give it a good go, but they're not really going to perform very well. You can try it if you want. I'm a Mac guy. There's one here. Look. I only use Windows because I have to for this stuff. So it's kind of up to you as to if your Mac will run Unreal Engine and you want to give it a little try in that, but just understand that if you're going to start using it seriously, you're going to need to invest in a PC. So I did that in 2020. The first thing I did was try to get a graphics card for my Mac, and I soon abandoned that idea. And so I bought, in fact, the PC that I'm using now it's been upgraded a couple of times since 2020, but this is the PC that I bought in 2020 to make Prassenberg Ridge. I've had an extra laptop in the meantime as well. But if you're going to do this seriously, you will need to be using Windows. So let's just take a look at how to get Unreal Engine onto your Windows machine. Let's assume you've got one. It'll be broadly the same if you're going to try it with a Mac. Let me know if you try it on your Mac and it works. I've never tried. So despite the fact that there are Macs, there's one on the table here, there's one here, there's a couple more flying around. I haven't tried. I got told, a friend of mine works at Epic, and I talked to him about it at the time, and he said, don't even try it, use Windows. It's a much better, it's built for Windows. So if you go to unrealengine.com, this is the screen that you're going to see. There is a download button here. Basically, you're gonna want to download it, and what this will do is it will download the Epic Games launcher. The Epic Games launcher is kind of like the central hub for not just Unreal but Epic Games generally. Once it's downloaded, which you can see it's doing now, I've already got it, obviously, so I'm not going to install it again. And my workspace will be much more cluttered than the one you'd expect to see, I think. But maybe I'll cut to a fresh one on the laptop. Let's see. So we've downloaded the launcher. Then we go to Epic Games Launcher, and here it is. Let's make it full screen. All right. So we want to come over to Library, Unreal Engine. If you're not already on that, on the left. And then when we're in Unreal Engine, we're going to come over to Library. Now, Library is out. See, there's a lot of stuff in here. That's because it's mine, and I've been using it a long time. And what's stored in here are your Unreal Engine versions at the top, then your projects, and not all the projects, but a lot of projects. And then here is my library, my asset library. The asset library is actually nowadays is called Fab, and you just click on. You can go to it via a web browser to get to Fab, and we'll talk about Fab as well. So the first thing you're going to want to do is install an engine version. You can see here I've got quite a few. I've got 5.4, 5.5, and 5.6, which are the most recent 3 versions at the time of this recording on Wednesday, the 13th of August. I've also got 4.27, which is the version that Prassenberg Ridge was made in. Now, I will uninstall that and reinstall it as and when I need to, because I very rarely open Prassenberg Ridge. I probably might never, at a certain point, I'm never going to open it again, right? It was a long time ago. But sometimes I just need to grab, especially while I'm working on a World War I project, which, as many of you will know, I am working on a World War I project. it seems a good idea to have the World War I project I already did kind of ready to go in case I need to go and grab something out of it. So that's why that's there. You can generally ignore it. A question that I get asked a lot is what version should you go for? And obviously this is a relative to like what versions are out when you go to install them. I tend to go 1 to 2 versions behind the very latest in general. So I'll tend to, so 5.6 is the latest and it's quite a big update. I'll install it and I'll have a tinker with it, but I'm not actively doing any projects in it. Now it's usually because the projects that I'm doing are already in operation, right? I'm already doing them. And one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to switch version mid project. That way you are kind of asking for trouble if you do that. So I would tend to go 1 to 2 versions behind. Currently I'm floating between 5.4 and 5.5. And 5.6 is out, so that gives you an idea. So I've got projects that are in 5.4, I'm starting new projects in 5.5, and I'm tinkering with 5.6, which is why all of them are installed. And I'm 4.27 obviously for Presenberg Ridge. And the reason is that the very latest ones, Unreal is a constant rolling beta almost. It's constantly changing, and the new version will add new features, but there'll also be things that like, oh, that doesn't work now. Why doesn't that work? And things like that. They can also, they're going to see like 5.6.0, right? But the other ones, these all got to 5.4. They all got to another sub-level of 4, which means this one, presumably, right, is going to have another 2 or 3, 4 updates, which are fixing things that don't currently work. When you open Unreal Engine for the first time, you're going to see a window that looks like this, which is asking you to create a new project. Or you can open one as well. Now, it's up to you which one of these you choose. I'll just talk you through some of the options. These are obviously game modes, so what will happen if you install one of these and you hit play in Unreal Engine, it will actually play a game. So it will be either a first-person shooter or a third-person. It could be a car game. It's going to default to one of these modes. And that's fine. That's kind of good. The best thing about the game modes is that a lot of the settings are turned down. They run in real time really well. Some of the film modes I've got settings turned up, and so if you were making a film and you need things to be running in real time, you might have to turn some of the things back down. I tend to like things to be turned down, and I can choose to turn them up at render time. So I tend to pick a first person unless I'm doing something specific to do with cars, in which case I'll go vehicle. And yeah, so I do that, and then you can choose where you're going to install it and what you're going to call it. When you start, I would tend to include starter content. Don't turn ray tracing on. Ray tracing will slow things down. You can turn it back on later, but especially if you're trying to get this to run on a Mac, leave that off. There's also a open project window, which you'll see, and it once you've run it more than once, and you'll see here a list of projects, and it also shows you the version numbers that they were created in. And again, if you try to open one of these, it's going to ask you to. In fact, let's do that. Let's do the same thing. So if we were to open this now, it's going to say the project was made with a different version of the engine. Opening it with this version of the editor may prevent it opening with the original editor and may lose data. So our options are to skip conversion. So skip conversion will open that project in this version of the editor. If you save it, you've effectively upgraded it to this version of the editor. If you convert in place, it's basically going to do that same thing. It's just going to handle it all itself and upgrade it, and then you've changed that project forever. I recommend doing neither of those two. Don't do those two. Assuming you've got the space, always open a copy. And what that will do is make a new version in a separate folder that's for this version of the engine that you can open up and you can try. And if for some reason things aren't working, or the work you already did for some reason isn't compatible with this version of the engine, those things can happen. At least you haven't lost any work. Let's take a quick look at Fab while we're here. So it's fab.com, and this is where you would get assets that you might want to use. There's usually some limited time free things, which are, and they're every few weeks now. They used to be once a month, but now they're every few weeks. So we've got here this week, we've got a warehouse environment, a werewolf, and a magic spline plugin. I tend to get all of these things, and I haven't got those yet, and I'm gonna go and get those. If that magic spline thing does what I think it's doing, then yeah, okay, I want that. So yeah, it's free. I mean, it was only 12 quid, but it's free. So check in every few weeks. So there's certain things that are really useful to get from the marketplace straight away. I recommend one asset that I do recommend buying is Ultra Dynamic Sky. I think nearly everybody uses Ultra Dynamic Sky. It's really good. Here it is. It's 45 quid. I recommend it. I use it in every project, so it's more than paid for itself since I bought it. I also recommend, if you go to Posed Humans, there are some of these that are free, I think, but if you can get some of these Posed Humans, they're really good for just laying things out. So you can just drop like a static character in, and they're real world scale. You can just drop them into your scenes and see how things feel, without having to get involved with characters in animation. Because obviously an animated character comes in a T-pose. That's not necessarily useful, and it's a bit distracting. So then you've got to pose it or drop some animation on it. These things are just really good for dropping in and just starting to line things up, and then eventually you could swap them out with animated characters. So I recommend those as well. There's a few things that I use quite a lot, and I could recommend, but the best thing for you to do is to you go and see what tickles your fancy on the marketplace, and it will also depend on what kind of project you're working on as well. So go and take a look, have a little tour. When you've bought some assets, they will appear down here in your Fab library. So you can click update if you just bought one, and then it'll turn up in here. Obviously, I've got quite a lot because I've been doing this a while now. And you would click add to project. Some of them you might install to Engine because it's a plugin. I tend to just go like find it, and it does burn up quite a lot of hard drive space. But I tend to go, oh, I might need that, and I add them all to the project, and then you end up with, you suddenly right at the start you end up with a really big project. Not necessarily the best way to do it, but it's a day way to do it. Okay, so when you've installed your project, I tend to have a folder for my projects. Okay, and when you have installed your project, this is what it looks like inside. Another way to change the Unreal Engine version is to right click, and you can switch Unreal Engine version in here. If you open this with a text editor such as this, you will see it will tell you which version of the project, which version of the engine it was made for, which is useful. Okay, so that's, I think, a good kind of overview of how to install Unreal Engine and kind of a few things about the files and versions and things like that. So hopefully that was of use. Again, I'm trying to build this kind of curriculum as we go forward, and I'm hoping people will follow along with these videos and start to use Unreal Engine to make films and whatever else you want to make in it. If there's anything that you didn't understand about any of these videos, you can leave a comment, and I will endeavor to get back to you. I'm going to try and answer questions on Mondays, and but I'll also, as I said, I think I will. Anything that I think deserves a video of its own that's part of the curriculum. In effect, I don't like using words like curriculum. It's part of the, curriculum module. These are very kind of education-y words, and I'm just trying to talk about the things that I know. So I'm just trying to teach you the things that I know. I don't want to get into words like curriculum. Yeah, look. Any questions, let me know, and I'll try and answer them. Can't say fairer than that. See you in a bit.